Good morning, everybody. I'm Lina, an English teacher, and today I discuss one of our English chapter. And this chapter is describe the life of the ant. Before I discuss the chapter, I just go through the poem which the poet described. It's about the life of the ants and the way they live, the way they behave. This is about described very beautifully described by the poet. Walking ants in a straight line. A lot of walk without talk, under leaves and over rocks. Heavy lifts to keep our stalks. We walk within an almost sacrificial love for one another. Now they walk, but in a disciplined manner. They work without talking. Just like for an example, if I give you an example of classroom, in a classroom, if we know that a teacher is going to just start his or her chapter, and at the same time students are busy with their murmuring way, actually the process is going for education and it's a two-way communication, but the communication is diverted. Both the teacher also want to pressurize the students, and at the same time students are also not interested in that process of teaching, because the less of discipline, we forget our discipline. And if we just go through the life of the ants, we know that what is the discipline is, what we miss in our daily routine life, that we get in the life of the ants. Now here what is happening, working ants, now they work everywhere, under leaves and over rocks. Heavy lifts to keep our stalks. We work within an almost sacrificial love for one another. They sacrifice for one another. No need of any type of preaching or any type of prayer. They just work and ready to sacrifice for other person, other ends. This love so strong permeates our body, willingly carries many times its weight freely. Miss, friends, the love is one of the important things which give you energy, and this energy create any blunder, anything just impossible. Whatever is impossible will become possible, and this is happening in case of ants. Due to their love, due to their strong foundation of love, they work in a disciplined way. They carry many times its weight freely, and as we find our freedom in our devotion, as we build a great life together. And this is what they find, freedom in a devotion, and they build a great life together. So this is about pre-task, and then it's about put across or so and so. It's just exercise one type of, but I just go through the chapter. I like this poem, and then I just go through the chapter. So what is that? Read one. How we get the knowledge of ants' life? It's about scientists. Scientists take different type of research, and they got the perfect lifestyle of ants. So here some of researches that we get here, and the result of these research, we get the knowledge of ants' life. Now the following behavior was noticed by a scientist who was making a study of ants. A number of ants were down in a pit where they had killed some flies and other insects for food. The ants began fetching the small bits of these insects up to their anthill. They began to fetching the small bits of these insects, and what happening? They fetch it up to their anthill. This was arduous work for them. This work is not easy. It was arduous work for them. The sides of the pit were steep, and considering the size of the ants, the load they were carrying were very heavy. Whatever the load they were carrying were very heavy. It was as if a group of men were carrying a weight of 200 pounds, each climbing a cliff at the same time. Okay, so it was not just whenever we observe one, they carried some crumbs of food or some tiny insects, we think that it's not a big work, but it is equivalent that it was as if a group of men were carrying a weight of 200 pounds. So this is about ant described by scientists. The ants immediately organized the work in this way. While some were carrying up the bits of insects, the other went in front and cleared away any sand or small stone that obstructed the way. Now, this is one type of discipline. I told you previously that discipline is one of the important thing in the life of ants. So, what is happening? Some ants organize the work. Some carry the bits of insects. The other went in front and clean the way, clear wherever they or whatever they decided the path for to their ant hill. They clean that way, whether there any stone or any type of sand, they clean it up. At some point where it was difficult to get a foothold, these other ants would position themselves in such a way that ant carrying the load could easily climb over them. Now, sometime what is happening that it was difficult to go through a foothold. So what happening when it was difficult to go through a foothold? These ants would position themselves in such a way that ant carried the loads easily. Now, this is the organization, this is the life, and this is the sacrifice for each other. One is ready to do or die for other person, not for himself, but for other person. And this is the real love, this is the real discipline which we get in the life of ants. And this, I just think that this thing is missing in human life, and we need to develop these qualities. We need to habituate with these qualities. These are our culture, so we need to go through it. We need to just memorize our culture, just go through it, our culture, memorize it, and follow our own culture, not to others. And this is when this is happening, then we are really a human being. Before of it, we are nothing more than a social animal. If we want to told us human being, then you need to follow some discipline, you need to follow some rules, you need to follow some traditions. Then only the life will be easy. So friends, here I just go through it near the top of the pit. However, there was a small part of the way which was completely smooth and steep. Now this line I just discuss means at the pit what is happening. Sometime there was a small part of the way which was completely smooth and steep. So what is happening at that level? It is just impossible for any ants to pass through that way. So if we have to face any struggle, we just depressed, and sometimes even we know that some students who get less mark in the 10th or 12th examination, they are depressed and they go through the suicide and so on. But for these ants, it's their daily routine work to face these struggles, and so they go through it. And I discussed the next part in my next video. In my first video, part 1, I discussed the way of living of ants' life. I discussed the poem also. And thanks for watching this video, and also watch the part 2 of Unit 5 Read 1 Ants. And subscribe my channel and watch it, and give me suggestions if any needed. Thanks a lot.